Hello, hello, hello. I have a lot to get through and not too much time. So I'm going to start talking as I set up AV, learning to innovate and iterate here with you on the holodeck. At any point, Riker's going to load a program and, oh God. So let's get this over here. And then we hit that. Oh. It tried. It tried. That's going to come over here. Anyway, so this talk is called Martyrs on Film, Learning to Hate the On-Call Selfie. It is a talk about Twitter. It is a talk about on-call. And it is a talk about how Twitter saved me from on-call and how I hope it can save some of you. So, who am I? I am Alice. I like systems and Twitter and tea and not getting paged. But it didn't always used to be that way. Oh, I used to love getting paged. Absolutely loved it. When I first went on call, it was several years ago, and I was put in charge of my company's local data center. And by local data center, we meant 2 racks of servers that literally no one else cared about but me. But I was in charge of them. I was the parent of these little server babies. And I felt so good about being on call for them and getting paged. Because it was a sense of duty and responsibility, and I felt trusted and competent, and I loved getting paged, and I thought on-call was really good. Several years later, I still think on-call is good and has some benefits. It hones your troubleshooting skills. It forces you to identify the weak points in your system, and it teaches you what is and isn't production ready. Nothing teaches you about your systems like watching them break. Breaking at 3 a.m. repeatedly for the same problem every time. And so the next time something comes along your way on its way out the door to Pride and it looks a bit similar to something that you remember breaking repeatedly at 3 a.m., you can be like, hello, no, not that ever again. And it really does bring some benefits to it. On-call also helps with team bonding. You're in there looking at this horrific inferno with your coworkers by your side, trading off every week, and you come through understanding each other better and fostering a sense of community. And it was this sense of community that led me to start a game. The rules were simple. Every time you get paged, take a selfie, and post it on Twitter with the hashtag OnCallSelfie. Now, don't take a selfie as soon as you get paged, okay? Fix it first, okay? And, it doesn't even have to be fully fixed, but it's like, oh, I'm running a migration script that's gonna take 15 minutes. Selfie that and post it online and do it every time you get paged. And in the beginning, I was the only one playing. But I did play. I was paged in meetings. I was paged at night. I was paged while trying to just live my life. And slowly but surely, other people started to play too. People who followed me on Twitter started posting on-call selfies, including a very early contender for perhaps the best on-call selfie of all time, the restarting servers in my minivan selfie. So over time, I saw the on-call selfie pick up pace. In the beginning, in November, when it was just me, not so much. But then some key events happened to help pick up the pace. The first being that in early December, PagerDuty added an integration into its app to take it on-call selfie. Which was awesome because now people could take on-call selfies directly from the PagerDuty app. And people could complain about taking on-call selfies directly from the PagerDuty app. It was great. And when they added that integration, you could see that more people started to participate, and then we started to get our first spike, and that was during the holidays, during New Year's Eve. Some people took selfies to celebrate with their families, and they posted online. Some people took selfies to commiserate without their families because they were paged. And some people took selfies to celebrate the nerdiest holiday possible, the leap second. So that was New Year's Eve. And as you can see, it kind of went on this trend of like bumps up and down until we hit that peak over there. That brought us all together as scared computer children. The Amazon S3 outage. People were a bit shocked. Yep. People reacted in different ways. Some were right on it. They were like, mitigation skills, I'm gonna move over our site, and bam, we failed over, don't even need Amazon. Awesome, post a selfie. Others were a bit busier. And as on-call selfie grew in popularity, I continued to participate and post my own. In the beginning, it was equal because, again, I was the only one doing it, but I still posted mine. But there was a bit of a different trend. Like, I posted, but eventually I stopped. And it wasn't because I stopped getting paged. Oh, no. It was because I started to hate the on-call selfie. I started to be ashamed whenever I posted one. And that's because whenever I posted an on-call selfie, this happened. Why do you get paged so much? I hear it's bad when you're paged a lot. Seriously, how much do you get paged? Oh, you get paged a lot, like way too much. You definitely get paged a lot. And by the way, you get paged a lot. Frowny face. This gave me pause. I mean, isn't getting paged what on-call's all about? Getting paged a lot. I mean, isn't that what on-call is? On-call's just hell on earth to prepare us for the real one? Like, that's what it is, right? I mean, stop me if I'm wrong, but we've all been here. Preparing for on-call, you don't leave the house unless you're commuting to work. You clear all your non-work appointments, can't even meet someone for lunch because you might get paged. Cook all of your meals beforehand because you're not going to have time. Oh, but also have soup on hand in case like the stress gets to your stomach and you can't actually eat the food you prepared. Oh, and never, ever plan on getting sleep. That's normal, right? I thought it was. In fact, I was so sure that this was normal that I started a repo called the On-Call Handbook because I was like, man, on-call kind of, woo. We should all get together and share some tips and tricks about how difficult that is because, again, it's normal. Ops has a military culture. I was milk-fed on it. Perhaps so were many of you. We have all of these military terms to describe how we do things because it makes us feel cool. I mean, we're not answering pages, we're fighting fires. We don't have an on-call kit, we have a go bag. Oh, and by the way, that really bad outage, yeah, that's now a war story. We use these terms and they make us feel important, they make us feel like we're battling the fray, and I understand why. I mean, it's exciting. A few months ago, GitLab had a pretty big outage involving their databases and their database backups. And they did something really interesting in that they actually put up a live stream so that people online could watch their engineers fixing the issue. And people tuned in, and people are still talking about it because it was super cool. It was exciting. It was exciting to be a part of that outage. It made you feel like a hero. And for many ops professionals, that is the only time you get to feel like you're a hero. Developers get to feel like heroes when they're building things, but for many ops engineers, you only get to feel like a hero when you're saving those things. And so you want to be doing that because that's the only way you get any sense of validation. But that means we are always preparing for battle, always. Get your musket and your bayonet and go, it's Antonov all over again, and our enemy is the pager, and it's paging all the time, and we are gonna ride into battle come hell or high water. When I was in film school, I had the absolute pleasure of being taught by a woman named Naomi Orwin. She was a screenwriter, worked on some Lifetime shows, and every time this amazing woman would sit there and look at freshman script after freshman script, she would say the same exact thing. Action scenes stop the plot. Think about your favorite action movie. I like The Matrix, I like The Dark Knight. Think about all of those action scenes, what they actually do to move the plot forward. Not the story, the plot. If Neo comes in from that end, and Mr. Smith comes in from this end, and Neo has to get Mr. Smith's Hello Kitty cell phone, what are the various ways that could happen? He could ask for it, he could tap him on the shoulder and do like a fast one and take it out of his pocket, or they could have a 20-minute garden battle. Remember that triangle you had to know, like English class, where it was like rising action, climax, denouement? There is no part on that triangle for 20-minute garden battle. I mean, there is in my life, like hell yeah. But not in a plot, and action scenes stop that plot. And pages stop the plot of your career, and sometimes your life. Think about it. Think about it. If you're trying to get a new job, what's going to look better on a resume? Building things, fixing problems, or 3 years of pages? 3 years of fighting fires. That's going to get you nowhere. You're not going to progress in anything. And if you're getting paged all the time, you're going to miss your kid's birthday party. You're going to miss hanging out with your friends. You're going to miss sleep, and it's going to impact your well-being. It stops the plot of your career and your life. Victor Ops has started doing this state of on-call survey, which I signed up for so you don't have to. And this most recent year, they talked about the identifying qualities of miserable on-call professionals. And those qualities are, they have a terrible work-life balance, they are supporting poorly designed systems, they feel powerless to solve problems, and they generally hate the role. Fascinating. Now, I'm not disagreeing that these things are true, but they seem more like symptoms to me, and I'm kind of more of a root cause gal. So I put up my own survey on Twitter, and I combined the responses, I got about 100 of them, with engineers that I'd interviewed at other companies about their on-call practices. And I came up with 3 red flags that lead to bad on-call rotations. The first one is too few owning too much. This can be anything from being the lone IT professional in a law firm to being the 4-person ops team that owns literally everything for your tech company, but too few owning too much. And this leads to what I like to call Centralia infrastructure. For those of you who don't know, Centralia was a small mining town in Pennsylvania founded in the 1800s, and in 1962, the planned burning of some waste accidentally got into the mine shafts and started a mine fire underneath the town. And it is burning to this day. Experts believe it will burn another 250 years. The town is utterly abandoned. But if you were visiting it, you'd be like, all right, it's abandoned. It's kind of like, you know, Gone Home or something. That's kind of cool. Until you realize that, no, it's actually Silent Hill, and there are fissures opened up to hell in the pavement, and there's literally a dumpster fire underneath your feet. That is Centralia, and that is Centralia infrastructure. When you have too few owning too much, that is what happens, because they can't keep up. If something breaks, they can't actually put out the fire. They can't build a new town. All they can do is run from fissure to hell and slap some asphalt on top and go, ah, and then run to the other one. And so things will keep breaking, and they will get paged all the time, and on-call will continue to be horrible. The next red flag is Band-Aids, which I believe we are all familiar with. And you might think, no, that's like a symptom, okay? Like, that's a symptom, it's not actually the problem, but it becomes the problem as you use them. Band-Aids being that thing where you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're like, all right, I am a good engineer and a good person, and I know that if I try to fix this right now, it's not gonna work. So I will just slap a Band-Aid on it, and then tomorrow morning, oh, you betcha, I will be fixing it correctly. Except you get paid for something else. And then you put a Band-Aid on that, and you get paid for something else, and you put a Band-Aid on. So you just have like a stack of Band-Aids on your arm, and you just have to amputate the whole thing. I'm pretty sure that's how medicine works, and that's what Band-Aids do. And if you need specific examples, if you are bumping your thresholds, if you are snoozing pages, if you're like, I don't have like 24 hours, just why? Why is it paging you to begin with if you can wait 24 hours? If you're putting delays into PagerDuty, if you're like, okay, all right, PagerDuty, if that's going to page me, just wait like 2 minutes, because it probably will resolve. That's bad. That's flapping services. Those are Band-Aids, and that is pointing you to the problem in your on-call. That is a bad on-call rotation. The third red flag is no visibility. And this can work 2 ways. The first way is having no visibility in your systems, which I think we're all familiar with, right? You're like, okay, so something breaks and you don't have appropriate monitoring or alerting or troubleshooting abilities on the team. You don't have that expertise, and so problems fester and they continue and they get worse, and real problems go unaddressed because you don't have the visibility you need. The other way it goes is team visibility, going up towards your company. If your company doesn't know about your problems, if they don't know that you have some trolley infrastructure, if they don't know that you have a bad on-call, and if they know and they don't care, you're not going to get anywhere. You need that visibility upwards. You need to be like, my burden is your burden, or you're going to continue having terrible on-call. I think the obviously largest red flag of a bad on-call is too many pages. So in that survey I sent out, I asked people to tell me the number of pages they got per week on average for their worst and best on-calls. So here's the spread of the weekly pages during the worst on-call. The largest group, 27.8%, or like the biggest chunk, said that on average during their worst on-call, they got between 10 and 25 pages per week. The second largest group, 25.8%, said they got between 0 and 10 per week. First of all, who are you? Can I come live inside you like you're a tauntaun and you can just take me to work with your like 0 pages a week bad on-call? And still, 17% of us said that we got over 100 pages per week in our worst on-call. And that, my friends, was me. I blew away 100 pages a week every time. So yes, I was getting paged too much. As for get on call, the spread is more like what you would hope. About 90% said they got between 0 and 10 pages per week, but we still have 8% of people saying they got between 10 and 25, and there's still 1% of respondents said they got between 25 and 50 pages per week during their best on-call. That's not a good on-call. Spoiler alert. But how do we get there? How do we improve a bad on-call to a good on-call? I'm just going to talk about 2 key things that if you did them today would make your on-call rotation better. Just 2. The first thing is notification cleanup, starting with actionable alerts. And you're going to sit there and be like, yeah, I know, actionable alerts. And yet, 17% of us get 100 of them a week. So yeah, we're going to talk about actionable alerts. There are 4 factors to making an actionable alert. Something breaks. The customers notice. I am the best person to fix it, and I need to fix it immediately. If all 4 of these factors are not satisfied, do not page me. I do not give a shit. That is not an actionable alert. Send me an email. Send me an email. I'll get to it later. Don't wake me up. And while we're at it, let's cluster our alerts. Let's group them together. If I have a 50-node cluster, and the network link goes down, I do not want 50 alerts saying this node went down, this node went down, this node went down. Send me one alert that says, yo dog, the network's down. And for those of you thinking, okay, wait a minute. I need to know when each and every node goes down, okay? Every alert is a possibly actionable alert because it could have customer impact. I need to know when one disk fails in that entire RAID array because single points of failure just litter my life like fallen friends, and like you don't understand, I've got SLAs to satisfy. If you have 3-minute SLAs that you expect to be satisfied by a human, you do not have SLAs. They are already broken. Because no human is going to get paged, wake up, find their laptop, open their laptop, remember to act the page, find the problem, and fix it in 3 minutes. It's not going to happen. Your SLAs are crap. Have a robot do it. Have scripts fix it. Get rid of your single points of failure because 3-minute SLAs satisfied humans, they don't exist. Speaking of humans, the second thing you can do today to make your on-call rotation easier is to put your developers on call. Now, this seems obvious to me, and it apparently seems obvious to many of you. In fact, it was so obvious to me that it was only 4 words in my 1,000-word sysadvent article last year. And yet, developers had some feelings that they shared with me online. This person brought up something that literally no one had ever talked about in on-call whatsoever. You're just going to be fixing other people's problems on a Saturday. This other person wanted me to know how cruel and unusual it was to put developers on call. Also, that I'm a man. Also, they apparently have a cat that walked across their keyboard at the end of that, so good job having a cat. And this other person has the solution to this whole problem. Just have the junior sysadmin do it, yo. Don't call me, I'm a dev. I do nothing wrong. Call the junior sysadmin. Okay, now I know that there are developers here who are on call. I know there are developers here who support that practice and believe in it. This section is for the people watching who don't, because they clearly exist. Putting devs on call alongside ops means the people who likely caused the problem are the first to try to fix it. Which, by the way, if you're still dedicated to having 3-minute SLAs satisfied by humans, this is your best shot at that actually happening. Because otherwise you're going to end up with ops people who are 911 operators burning up that 3 minutes going, who the fuck? Okay, like just calling them. Page the devs. And when ops and devs work side by side, or devs and SRE, or SRE and ops, whatever, it actually turns out that there aren't that many issues to begin with. They get satisfied before they hit prod because the right people are feeling that pain. I know these aren't new concepts, but if you're out there and you are still unsure about whether to put your developers on call, just do it. It'll make it so much better for you right away. And I know that's kind of glib. I know it's just like, obviously it's not that easy to put devs on call, but we're not talking about things that are easy. We're talking about things that you could do today to make your on-call better. But okay, let's start small. Start with the notification cleanup or better fatigue and on-call handling practices. Like, I got paged 2 times today, I'm gonna hand that off to my teammate because I'm fatigued, that's too much. Start there. And if you get pushback on that, if people are like, no, don't have time for that, then you're not gonna get devs on call and you're not gonna get people on your side. And what you need to do is leave. Leave that team, possibly leave that department, possibly leave that company. And if that seems harsh and difficult, again, this is your career and your life we are talking about, and if they're not going to prioritize it, you need to, and you need to go somewhere else. And this next part, I don't have time. And this next part is for, shut up! And the next part is for the CEOs and the business owners in the audience. Guess what? Your people will burn out before your company does. And 2 things will happen, and both are bad. They will either leave and take their institutional knowledge with them, or worse, they will stay and contribute to the problem and just write mediocre Centrali infrastructure and make your problems even worse. Neither are things that you want. And if you're still not convinced, if you're still like, that's hard, I can't do that, I'm not a 15-person startup, well, here are some non-15-person startups who have evaluated their on-call quite recently. Etsy comes up all the time, as they should. They do a lot of work in this space, a lot of articles, a lot of testing. One of my favorite ones is this like creepy opt-in thing they did where they gave on-call employees Fitbits and they monitored their sleep schedules to determine whether or not they were being taxed too much on-call. It's fascinating. They have done this. Another one is Heroku. Heroku is owned by Salesforce, a giant company, and a lot of their teams are kind of independent. And one of the teams that owns millions of database instances pushed back about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, and said, our on-call is too rough. We are not doing any feature shipping until we clean up our on-call. And now, today, robots restart instances, robots respond to issues, and if a human needs to intervene, they do it all on an app. Last but not least, GitHub. GitHub also tackled this about a year and a half ago in a very GitHub way. Infrastructure was getting pelted a lot with on-calls, so they just opened up a pull request and said, we are going to move these alerts, they're not actionable, they're going to go to emails, and these other pages we're going to offload to other teams because they're the ones that should be dealing with it. Got a problem? Leave a comment. 2 days later, they merged it. Full disclosure, I'm at GitHub now, and my team hasn't been paged in months. So, where does that leave the on-call selfie, though? I mean, if I'm up here saying that people shouldn't be paged too often, doesn't that mean we shouldn't have the on-call selfie? Well, yes. But I like it. I like the on-call selfie. I think it's really cool, and I want people to keep using it, at least for now, because I don't know if you noticed, but we're still human beings answering pages. I mean, as much as we try, robot overlords are not here yet, except for Russian bots on Twitter. Otherwise, robots aren't here yet. Oh, low blow. It's still humans responding to pages, and like it or not, someone out there is going to get paged. And I don't want them to get paged, but they're going to get paged. And when they do get paged, I want them to come online and find a community waiting for them. And the on-call selfie has built a community. We finally get to meet the person on the other side of that 503 for like the first time ever. And it's really cool. There are people from all over the world doing on-call selfies. There are people with different backgrounds and different experiences doing on-call selfies, people getting paged in all sorts of different places doing on-call selfies. Yep. And they're all coming together online with this shared experience, and that is the community I wanted in the first place. I wanted to be able to see people from different backgrounds, different experiences, different views on life, all coming together around this shared frustration in our roles. And that is what I have. And if it wasn't for the on-call selfie, I would have burned out before I even knew I was on fire. That stupid hashtag was the monitoring system for my life and for my sanity, and you all were the alert system, and I thank you for that. It really saved my career and my personal well-being, and I hope it can do that for others too. So, yes, please keep doing on-call selfies. You get paged, put them up there, participate in the hashtag, and if you're not the person on call that week, if you're not the person getting paged, please look through the hashtag, I do. Reach out to those people posting multiple selfies. Give them a tip of your hat. Tell them it's gonna be okay, and ask them, why are you getting paged so much? Thank you very much.